Hey folks, it's Bjorn. Today I'm doing something a little bit different. My plan is to make a 3 hour, well, not today, but today and tomorrow. I'm going to make a game in 3 hours using a asset pack that I found on itch.io. And I'm going to generate a theme so that I have something to stick to. I'm going to get 3 rerolls on the theme so that it's not that difficult. Yeah, I hope that it goes well. So let's get into it. So this is the asset pack that I'm using for this challenge thing. I just looked up like platformer 16-bit asset pack. So we have all of these assets to use. I don't know what I'll use. It's a little overwhelming, but like it looks sick. So we got a health bar. I don't know if we'll use all that, but yeah. So let's look at the theme generator. I already tried this once, but my screen wasn't recording, so this is one I tried to get. But I guess I'll reroll. Castles. I feel like I don't have the right asset pack for this. You know? Like, I feel like this isn't the right pack. So yeah, I'm not gonna go with that one next. Evil versus evil. Who do we have that's bad in this? That could be fun. Like maybe you have to like race to eliminate all the villagers, cause you got like townsfolk. We could have like skeletons versus wizards, and like you have to do something to stop the opposing side from defeating more of the knights than your side defeats. And so like the wizard, scope creep yard, scope creep. But there's all these like, there's like a king, evil. I'm thinking that we have the skeletons versus wizards, right? And then we have, I think I like that. So I'm gonna go into my dock. I know this is blinding light, but we'll have to deal with it. I just realized that might have been quiet because I was really far from my mic. I hope it worked out. I can boost it a little bit in post, but not too much. So let's just see. I'm just gonna write some ideas. So. yeah, I think that's it for tonight. Tomorrow, I'm going to work more on actually I'm going to put the game together. But this is my idea. All right. Well, I'll see you guys tomorrow. Okay, so it's the next day. I am back at it. I already deal with stuff. What can I actually accomplish? This is what I hope to get done. I hope to get for the player. I want to get the controls, which include sword swings, movement, sword orbit, because like I want the sword to orbit around the player. Because mouse controls, I could use just left and right, but I feel like for what I want to do, eventually, it'd be cooler if I didn't have that. So let's try. I think I also want. No, let's try. I think that I want the player to not be able to jump, but only be able to use the bounce pads or the slime pads to jump. So this is my planning document. I think that I have to scrap the knights, the evil knights for now. I have cool ideas for them, but I don't think that I'll be able to get them. Yeah. So another thing is, if I have time for it, I will be using SFXR to create sound effects. So stuff like and stuff like that and stuff like that. I don't know how to use any of these, but I do know how to press these buttons. So I'm going to be doing that as well. So yeah, let's get into it. I have a timer here, and I'm going to set my own timer too, so that I have an audio cue, so I don't have to keep looking down at OBS. So I'm going to get those both set up at the same time, and I'm just going to go for it. Where's my clock? Timer. 3 hours. I might pause it to go to the bathroom and stuff, but once the timer on my phone goes off, once both of these timers have gone off, so whichever one I stopped first when I went to the bathroom, or whatever I have to do, it will be the one that I uses my final timer. So whoever the last one is to go. So yeah, 3, 2, 1, go. Alright, we are off. I'm already slow to this. New project. Let's just call it Death Skelly. It should be small. Retro style. 320/180 works for me. Actually, you know what? No, let's make it 6. Well, let's see what it was. That looks about good. I want it to be of decent size. Landscape eventually optimize for pixel art. Create. Yeah, that looks good. Okay, so first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to create my level because I have an asset pack that I'm using. So we're going to name it. Well, this time, as players, I'm going to be giving an overview of my process in making this game. First of all, I'm not a programmer by any means. I just know the concepts. I can't code, I just use Construct to help me create my visions. Anyways, with that disclaimer out of the way, let's get into it. The first thing I did in this project was create a level. At the time, I didn't think it would be my final product, but hey, it works. The perks of using an asset pack for this is I didn't have to think about what I was going to build my level with. This means I could just grab the tile set, put it in there, and I didn't have to create weird rectangle things. I just had my blocks, my building blocks from the get-go. The next thing that I made was the background. It was supposed to be comprised of 6 layers, but I only used 1. If you guys want me to come back and update the game, I totally will. So if you want more background layers, leave a comment. The next thing I did was create the skeleton player character and get all of its platform behavior settings just right, as that would be the template for the rest of my characters. By that I mean I had their gravity brought to what I wanted it to be. Jump height, which I didn't use because I just used a vector for the slime bounce pads and stuff like that. I also made the sword and had it orbit around the player and follow your mouse, as well as swing side to side when you swung it. This was something completely new to me, as I hadn't really thought of a good way to create a swingable, using tweens to swing a sword that can orbit around you but doesn't follow your mouse. So that was a little bit interesting for me. Next, I added a villager and made him walk around randomly. I did this by making it choose a number between -1, 0, 1, and 2 every 0.5 seconds, where if it picked a 1, the villager would move left, and if it picked a 2, then the villager would move right. If it picked neither of those two, it would not move at all. This also decided whether it was activating its animations, so if it was a 1 or 2, it would be picking the movement animation, and if it was -1 or a 0, it would be picking the idle animation. I also made it so that if you hit the villager with your sword, which means click while your sword is overlapping him, it would increase your score. The scorecard/scoreboard was harder than I like to admit, because I wasn't as familiar with BB code as I should have been. Bracket/color close bracket Bjorn. It's that easy. The next thing I added were slime pads, because every game is better with bounce pads. They affect all characters in the game. The way that they work is they add a -450 Y vector to the player, because negative is higher up and positive is lower on the ground. It means going down, so -450 means up, so it just bounces it up. And this affects all characters in the game. Speaking of all characters, next thing I added was the wizard and their purple fireballs. I tweaked the wizard a lot during this game, during the creation of this game, as they're the most complicated characters in the game. They need line of sight, and they shoot projectiles, and they have more complicated random AI, because you don't want him to turn around when he's shooting at you, so he should only be turning at you and looking in the right direction. In the end, it's the wizard ended up turning out a little bit busted, very busted, but it is what it is. I also made it so that if a fireball hits a villager, then the wizards score a point. So the red score villager bar goes up. So it feels that you are competing against the wizards. Although it's almost impossible to beat the wizards if you give them enough time. Another thing that I really wanted to try out for this game was ragdoll-like deaths. Ragdolls aren't really possible in Construct because that's just too much for a browser-based game engine to handle. But I wanted to try it, or something like it. So the way I did that was I added I gave every dead character a bullet, or every character that could die, a bullet and rotate behavior. So that it would shoot off to one side and then rotate as it does it. And the side that it shoots off to is based on what direction it was hit from. So if you hit it, so if you swing your sword towards the right and hit someone, they would go to the right. If you swing your sword down and hit someone, they would go down. And it works the same way with wizard fireballs. So I applied this to all my characters so that everyone could get their own little ragdoll going on. At the 1 hour mark, I was implementing spawners, which use the random number tree again to choose a random spawner to spawn the wizards and villagers at. This time, instead of moving left to right, you every, let's say 10 seconds, choose a number at random between 0 and 3, because there's 4 different spawners, and you find the ID of the a spawner with the ID that matches the number you picked, and you spawn a wizard or villager there. And that works for both wizards and villagers with their own specific spawners. So, a thing I tried to add to spice up the game was the higher score is the more often wizards spawn and the less often villagers spawn, which is just done by tweaking the value of how many seconds have to pass before a wizard or a villager is spawned. Sadly, my footage was lost or never taken in the last 30 minutes, so I missed my frantically creating sound effects, then realizing they were too loud, then readjusting them, but it is what it is. I hope that you enjoy the game. I'm going to do an overview of what you can play right now. Okay, so this is Death Skelly. It's not the easiest game. I'm going to upload it to my itch.io. Wow, this is laggy. Last game. So basically, what's going on here is I have my player. There's a little rod attached to the player that brings him out. Brings a hold the sword out. And there's the ragdolls. So I'm gonna see if I can get some. I'm gonna talk this next run. I'm gonna talk with the ragdolls. Just see what I can do in just. Yeah. So here's the bounce pads. It's just adding an X vector, a Y vector to all the characters who jump on them. And so watch this guy. Oh, it disappeared. Well, let's just watch one of these guys. When he shoots, the bullet activates in the direction that the fireball is moving, and then it shoots him that way, and then gravity applies to him, so he falls. And one thing that I wanted to try in this was I wanted to try to make it so that when you hit like a ragdoll, if the ragdoll that you made hit someone else's or hit something else, then that other thing would like die and turn into a ragdoll. But see how the wizard's kind of like rapid fire. So yeah, I'm going to do one last run, and that'll be it. And this is Death Skelly. Oh, I got one. Oh, well, I got two. So that's the game.